This is my first time doing weight coordinating anything. I volunteered last year and here I am. And it's been really exciting, but challenging because you say you have a really good idea from last year and you throw it out on the table and then all of a sudden you're committed and you're like, wait a minute. And
Sorry, one second.
thanks for doing. Perfect. Yeah. And so this was one of those things. And as I was listening to everyone talking over the last couple of days in the leadership track, especially, I think there's definitely been a shift in what we're doing, what we're gearing towards, because last year it was a lot of here's the weeds, this is the nitty gritty, what you have to be thinking about. And there was no uplift. It was the most daunting thing to come in because I had only been district manager for 6 months at that point. And it was the fire hose effect all over again. So this is hopefully gonna uplift and get us ready to walk miles. So I'm Becca Gebrin. I'm the district manager over at Foster Creek, a little tiny little district in the northern part of Douglas County. We come and hang out in Chelan all the time, which is great. But we're gonna walk a mile, and I want you to think about your shoes, because this is more than just your shoe. There's a lot that speaks from our shoes, right? You relate to those shoes quite a bit, and there's something about it that keeps you going. So shoes, we all have them. They take you places. They often see some of the worst parts of the trek, and you don't talk about them. Everyone wears them, but they just kind of become a side note in most of the conversations. So why don't we talk about a very integral part of everyday life? Because they seem to be there. They help us get places. I am a barefoot person. I love to be barefoot, but I refuse to walk barefoot in places like, I don't know, Seattle. I don't know why, or, other places of that nature. And they see all of that hardship and they just are worn down consistently. And no one talks about them. And I think that's silly. But I mean, let's think about it. How would you like, Alan, your shoes, you got those New Balances. They just look so good today. It's an odd thing to say. Sorry, this is why I don't do well here. It's an odd thing to say. But if you have a shiny shoe, that's when you get the compliments. When you come out wearing these, I don't think I've ever worn high heels in front of any of the people that know me in Washington, because it's not a me thing. But if I were to come to the office in high heels, I think people would be like, oh, I'm feeling it today. And I'd be like, oh, right. But why can't we do that every day? Why can't we praise the Birkenstocks? So we're gonna take a dive into it. These are the first shoes that we have found. They are from around 7,000 or 8,000 BC and was found in the Fort Rock Cave in Oregon. And I was like, hey, I don't know where that is in Oregon, but Oregon's our neighboring state, so someone might have been there. And these shoes, they started from sagebrush, nothing, but they got you there. 40,000 years ago, shoes got you there. Shoes have been a part of our life for 40,000 years, and you don't even really think about it. They've evolved, because I don't know if I've ever seen anyone in Douglas County and Shrubstep rocking the sagebrush sandals, but I'm sure maybe they're out there. But they're different. They keep meeting the needs as the journey continues. So, you've got all of this. Shoes are around for a while in their boundaries. They help you meet these things with the journey, and there's growth, there's evolution about it all. But so what, right? What else do shoes do? New Balances, Alan. New Balances. They do a lot. I sent an uplifting message. I'm going to call it an uplifting message last week to the district managers. And I said, it's an odd request, but could you send me a picture of your shoes? No feet. Kept that out of there. But I want to see your pictures of your shoes. And I mean, the emails that flooded from that point forward were not the like, oh shit emails. They were the like, someone sent shoes, you wanted to see, you were invested in other people's shoes. For some reason, we all became invested in other people's shoes. But it was really fun because you talked about your shoes. You were like, this is what it is, and we saw some crazy shoes come in there. And some of them are Easter eggs throughout this presentation, but shoes relate to our culture. Shoes give us memories from growing up in Chicago. Shoes give you the warm wishes or the warm feelings because my dad personally wore New Balances and they were green. I'm that 92 baby, right? You're like, that was it. You know, they were lawn mowing shoes. And you relate to them or they give you some sort of emotion to it. And that's the part that I think gets lost. And so that's where it's like, walk with confidence. Let your shoes tell your story. So we're going to think about our shoes and we're going to think about our stories and how we use our shoes to walk the miles. And that's where you're going to talk with your people and you're going to do these things. But it's fun. These shoes often tell our story. Because if you look at shoes, think about your shoes now over the period of from birth on. I know you didn't see your first shoes, but those of you that are parents, you remember, oh, look at that's a thing. You looked at their shoes. And then they became this kind of pain. They're expensive. The feet don't stop growing. And you get to change your personality with your shoes as you evolve. Then you get into your teens. And I have a couple of coworkers that have teens that are growing and they do all the sports. That's like 8 pairs of shoes right there. And so shoes are every stage of our life. And there's something that connects us to the shoe at the time. And then you start feeling comfortable in your shoes. And you're walking a little bit further, a little bit more, you know, a little bit more of a trek under your belt. You're ready to go, your bag's packed, and you're taking the journey with your shoes. So, what do your shoes say about you? I'm going to tell you what my shoes say about me. These bad boys here. They say, I am loyal because I wear them all the time. They're my main shoe that I wear. I have 3 pairs of them. One for the river because those were my Birks from a few years ago. And so they still serve a purpose for me. They're loyal, durable. They bring me to the river. I have my lawn pair. I mow the lawn in Birkenstocks. I know you shouldn't, but that is what I do. I have my business pair, which is this one, which I decided to also paint in. So that's why there's paint in them. They speak to all of the things that I feel connected with. They're grounding. This girl, this is the exact wording I put. This girl is down to earth. She's easygoing granola, ready for any occasion, meeting it with durability, flexibility, and loyalty. That is what I think my shoes say about me. You probably didn't get that out of my shoes, but I feel that way in these shoes. And that's important because I think a lot of times we spend a lot of time thinking about how other people are perceiving this right now. And that's that, how's someone going to take this and make it theirs, right? Like this is going to come off right for them. And it provides a lot of anxiety for people. It creates this, I'm not sure how I'm going to get there to make sure that they see what I'm seeing. And that is where the manager part comes in. It's a heavier shoe because it's clunky. It doesn't seem to operate the same way, but for some stupid reason, they're comfortable. I'm not sure why, but a lot of us just naturally step into it and then you're there. So I want you to think about it without going too deep because this is fun, lighthearted, and setting yourself up for leading weight, going into the hard miles. So in your groups, make groups. I want you to say, you know, what's your go-to shoe? What does that shoe say about you? That's it.
Comfortable? You like comfortable shoes? Yeah. I often wear sneakers or like anything that says Dr. Scholler is what I got. And my teeth grow out.
Going to second.
And I'm not.
Mom, my nails are, I'm getting a little hair done. I'm gonna pay for it. We do the product there. Yeah, she was the driver, so.
I mean, they're.
Sometimes related is what you do. Work training for heavy work. Maybe water day or something.
Yes, yeah. I got thinking shoes. I think that I have to have a really good thing to shoes because, some thing about myself, right? And that's, but I had a burger that was a narrow heel. And so but yeah.
Got an outside foot and I find one that fits. I just have one store for the one. And you were buy some share. For various reasons you need it.
Yeah.
And looking on eBay, you think
All right, we're gonna prompt another question because you're walking a mile in a man in your shoes. So put your leadership cap on. Sarah did a phenomenal job yesterday with some learning to self-assess who you are in a leadership sense or in the like how you do the things. She was great at it. And that told me a lot because I'm steady. I'm a steady individual in terms of how I lead. These are steady. They can be fancy, they can be work related, they're steady. And I was like, holy smokes. My Birkenstock speaks to my type of leadership mentality. But there's also something a little bit different because I've heard a couple of people who are shoe connoisseurs and they go, I have so many shoes and I wear many different shoes throughout the week. Is that a bad thing for leadership or is that a good thing for leadership? If you think about it in a sense of shoes, should you be leading in the same format since 27 years ago? Are you still walking the same exact path and the same shoes you started?
I can't even see that path.
So shoes can change, but it doesn't mean that you have to change completely the person in them. It's meeting that adaptiveness and being ready to step in to whatever comes down the road. So now start thinking about your shoes that you just talked about, which was fun, right? Because it's fun to not always think about work. Now, how does that shoe, do you think, speak to your leadership style? Or how you tend to go forth in life? Do the things.
Those two value practices. Yeah.
Adaptability.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, so I wear. Is there a brand that I always buy? same style, same size, same color. And they just like. And I know that, that I just started wearing, but I can listen from yesterday. Was there
My next one, so I do something similar, and I have no idea what I'm gonna do. And when those guys are.
In my paranoia, because I've had bad feet.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
it involves in the lab. These, I picked up these from guys, and they are very expensive. They fit. And you can't walk. It's conservative at the bottom. My wife bought her feet from the same client. They don't have shoe stores for the products on them. It takes a team of size.
Please, right, yeah, right. Anymore, if I don't shoot. Because we're going on a physical or something, and we're just going out. And I. When I was like third grade.
I've seen a lot of people look at me now like I've talked about my shoes enough. So did you guys realize you gravitated towards something, or maybe there is a reason why you tend to change your shoe? Did anyone come up with any, like, there was like, yeah, I really relate to how that leadership is and I really enjoy your shoes. Did you hear that? Maybe? No? Yeah?
Mike Bowen did a really good job breaking it down for me.
Mike was invested in this project. Mike was invested in this project. Because honestly, this grew out of I was gonna have a panel up here. And it was gonna happen, like, the people that have done the things, they've walked the miles, and people were gonna come up and ask them questions. And how did they get over that? And I sat there, because I was leaning on a lot of support from my peers at the time. It's like, just like, would you get help? Would this be helpful? And everyone's like, well, yeah, who's this for? And I was like, well, dang it, I'm gonna write it for me. This is for me. And I think that having other people's experiences and learning from that is really important. However, I also think that it's really important to understand that your trail has differently placed rocks than the other person's trail. What they're doing over in that county is different from my county because of various reasons. And so that's where it was, how can we learn to be more open to this challenge that's ahead of us? Because an estimated 10% of people are natural born leaders. Only 10%. And so this 10% of the population, these are the shoes, by the way, from the managers. 10% of the population choose to put on the very uncomfortable shoe of leadership. They want to manage for some silly reason. And you get a thrill out of it almost, like you feel good in the shoes. And that's hard because there are a lot of days where you come at it and you're like, you want to come home and take your shoes off. You want to be done with that. And so maybe you throw on your New Balances and you go out and mow the lawn. Maybe you put on your hiking boots and you go on a hike. It's okay to change your shoes and give yourself that break. Managers walk miles and miles and miles in our shoes, and it often goes unnoticed. And that becomes hard, just like any other shoe you put on your foot. It just is an everyday occurrence. But the things that we have to remember to remind ourselves is I am doing something. That to-do list is never getting done. I have learned that and embraced it. That list will just continue to keep growing, and maybe I'll check it off. But I have to also put it in perspective of what did I do that day that may not have been meeting the goals that I had set for myself, but was it influential? Was there something that drove any other process in the office? Was it helpful? And some days, I'll be honest, there are days where I'm like, I have no idea what I did at work today. I didn't sit down at my computer, but I couldn't tell you if it was productive or not. And that's not the best feeling to end with. So, no one's seen those emails you're writing or the texts that are happening after work hours because you need a social support group. No one's seeing all of that stuff. No one's seeing you laying in your bed, going through the org chart and what needs to change. And I should email Kim for my cultural resources because I was going to do that 2 weeks ago. That's the stuff that kind of just stays. And that gets heavy. And that's really heavy, really fast. So how do you make sure that people are seeing the non-existent meter that is on your door? Because I wish there was a door meter that was like, Becca sent 30 some emails today, had a lot of text messages. I looked at a couple of contracts. I helped a couple of staff. You want to project it, but it's not something you should do. So how do you carry the load? How do you make sure that you stay comfortable in those shoes, but you don't put that weight on the people who are walking behind you because you're leading them forward in these clunky, heavy shoes, like a Sherpa. I had a great picture of a Sherpa, but it just didn't play in with the thing. So it's one of those things. But the Nepali Sherpas, I looked it up, they carry over 90%, no, it's like 120% of their body weight or something of that nature. Most of the guys that do that are carrying themselves and then some up these mountains. And that's hard. And that's really hard because how do you take the load off? I've been dealing with a lot of stress lately. My watch has been telling me a lot about it. And I'm trying to figure out how do you take off the load? And you kind of I can't shove this off on anyone else. It's gonna be fine. I'll just do it again. I'll put that over here. I'll take it, because you don't want to burden people. But that's heavy. And that's not necessarily, as Sarah was saying, playing on the strengths of the rest of the team. And that's where you have to change your shoe because you have to become adaptable. So maybe I'll throw on tennis shoes one day because I'm feeling like I'm running everywhere. But by the end of the week, I'm wearing my Birkenstocks again. So things are good. And that's okay. I want you all to know that's okay. People who have been in your shoes empathize with you, while people who haven't been in your shoes sympathize with you. And I don't like sympathy. I am a bigger proponent of empathy because everyone has a different reaction or a different feeling to that load that's happening. And it doesn't mean that I have to be like, oh, I'm so sorry that that's happening to you. It means I bet that's really hard. How can we talk about this? How can I help support you in the situation so that I'm not necessarily lifting you like a Sherpa and putting you on my back and carrying you up the mountain, but I'm sure as hell walk right next to you because you need it right now. And that's okay. I've had a tumultuous month, lost a lot of people. I have a lot of holes staring at me. It's daunting. I have a lot of changes of something that I've been working on for over a year, and it's never ending. And it's really hard because one of the people that I lost, he was Ryan, he showed up last night even. He entered interim district manager with me. We both lost our previous manager, and he went into this unknown with me, which was kind of like this safety blanket in a way. He saw that extra work. He received the text messages late at night that was like, we should be doing this. He saw the emails that came in on the weekends. He saw the work that I was putting behind it. And I realized I wasn't worried about Ryan's giant workload coming at me. I was worried because I lost my ally. He saw it. He saw it. He felt it. He was there with me. All of a sudden, I'm alone because at that point in that transition, I had my partner. We were walking the hard miles together. And he sent, we had a party for him. There was alcohol and all the things, and it was emotional. It was emotional. And he said, you know, this wasn't an easy decision, but it was a decision that I felt good in because you're ready. And I don't know, he's not my dad, he has no relationship to me, but hearing that, I was like, yeah, I'm ready. And so I'm in these clunky shoes up here at Wade talking about leadership, and I only have a year under my belt. But leadership is more than time. Leadership is being open and the ability to say, I don't have all of the knowledge. I don't have all the skills. I need people to support me. I need to put my inserts in so I feel good in these shoes, because these shoes were expensive. They've taken a lot of time to get to, and they're not dead yet. You know, my husband, we have a system worked out because he gets really expensive shoes for work with the like composite toe, all the things. We now have a pretty good system worked out where like he wears them for a while and then they look like they're about to break down. I buy him a pair of inserts. And he gets another couple of months out of those bad boys, you know, a couple of parents trying to make it work. That works for us. And sometimes you got to do that. You put the tape on the wall, like, ooh, that hole is big, but I'm just going to flex seal it really quick. And hopefully it works. So this is how I currently feel. My desk is starting to look like this. This is definitely a good representation of my brain. How do you turn that off? How do you organize something that's constantly barreling at you? Miles. Miles. You can think of miles as 5,280 feet, 1,000 paces, 80 chain. My son, he hates walking. That's a while. It's what he always says. Oh, that's a while. Miles, they come. You want to get off the trail, but there's something about it, like it's a treadmill, and you're like, I want to get off, but you can't. But you're walking these miles, and it's that journey. Lao Tzu, the journey is 1,000 miles, and it begins with one step. If I'm over here staring down the street, trying to figure out how I'm going to get over there, I'm missing on my miles. I'm missing on my present right now. I need to understand that there is a lot to get from this point to that point. And sometimes I'm changing a trail. Yeah, like we've all done it. Like, I don't think I'm on the right trail. My honeymoon actually did that in the whole sense. My husband took me on a backcountry hiking trip. He is a mountain man, so I was like, oh yeah, we got this. It's gonna be good. We went on a small hike, so we thought it was only 8 miles to the Lake Smeltzer. My last name is Smeltzer. So it was like the, you know, inaugural honeymoon. We're doing the things. I almost died. It was the scariest thing. We lost the trail. We were wandering because we had followed a trail only to realize that it was a game trail because the trail had blown out with the river and it had turned. But we had all the things we needed to, but there were a lot of challenges because we were way over here. Our trail was here and there was the biggest crevasse I've ever seen. I was like, I don't even know how we're going to get over there. We walked a lot of miles. We went up a very steep incline. It was not a very hiker friendly, like, hey, let's just go on a backcountry hike and have a honeymoon. It was like, I'm dying. I'm going to die. I even told him that one night. I was like, we're going to die because there were bears. There were elk. It was a whole thing. It was so intense. But we made through it. And honestly, I'm going to be married to this man for 10 years come next year. Where did the time go? I walked a ton of miles with that man. We did a lot of stuff before those miles even started. And so you lose a lot of that sometimes. It's hard to keep going and recognize where you've been and just take in where you are and have a focus in the future. You have to balance a lot of stuff there, and that's not easy. A new statistic from Harvard Business says that 50% of managers report feeling burnt out almost consistently throughout their jobs. Who's feeling pretty burnt out right now? It's Shannon, yes, I am. It's hard to push that because now you sit there and you start feeling like, if I'm feeling burnt out, I can't let the other staff feel burnt out. So I'm going to just keep bearing. I'm going to keep doing the things. You can't keep doing that. You can't keep doing that. Becca, you cannot keep doing that. Thank you for the reminder. I needed that. How are you doing it? I just felt like running. We just do it for some reason. You just keep putting it on because there's that passion and that drive that tends to push it, you know, it's like, oh, I'll take that, I don't need that paycheck this month, or those are the things that you do. Because you have this weird passion and obsession for what you do in these clunky, painful shoes. Why? Why do you do it? Greg, why do you do it?
Just trying to figure that out myself. You asked that question.
So Joseph B. Ribbon says sometimes we just make the process more complicated than we need to. We will never make the journey of 1,000 miles by fretting over how long it takes, how hard it will be, and what makes that journey a step-for-step thing in reappearing again. So there's a lot in that, right? So it's like, how do you make sure that you are focused in where you are, you have the goal set, and the passion to keep driving that journey? Because usually it's complicated, and that can be very daunting where you're like, this isn't for me because it's just too much. Too much. But is it too much? Is it too much? So the managers loved the shoes, and I had a very invested manager who created a poem with a picture of shoes. Yeah, shoes. Ah, man, you can tell I've been doing this at weird hours. These shoes, they see a lot. They're wearing all the different hats, or they're doing all of the different things. But they're there, and they're steady, and they keep showing up. And it's something about those shoes that you're comfortable in, and you want to keep going. Just 10 photos. He submitted 10 photos. So I appreciated that because I think everyone else appreciated that. You could tell that that was something you needed. Needed to just be okay, not worrying about work, not having the hard conversation of, so you had such and such come after you for a blanket. So I had a blanket statement approach from a newspaper that wanted my opinion on biosolids. In my area, biosolids are applied. And I was like, well, shoot, that would have been a question I would have asked the panel. But in that moment, I wasn't like, oh, I wonder what such and such, I wonder what they said to this or what they would have done. I had to react on my own. I had to feel confident enough to make that statement of, we work with the landowners. They have the right to do what they want with their landscape. That was the politically friendly response. And I was like, yeah, you did it. You know, it was good. But they're daunting. Miles take time. It's important to talk about your miles. Because if you're over here sherping a bunch of weight up the mountain and you don't want to talk about it because you're tired, it doesn't make any sense to talk about it. The path's already gone. Why are we doing it? It's super good to talk about your miles. So I want you to think about it because I did it in a year and this is a heavy lift. So please to just like keep it general. But what miles have you been walking this last year? So we can break down the group so we can popcorn. I'm a good popcorner. Groups. Get your groups. Talk about your miles.
I think for the metaphor, sometimes you just have to take those shoes off. Put on another set of shoes.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. You gotta have a go. But then they got through the grad school for years, like playing rugby. Because you can go out and hit people, you lose all your frustration, and have a beer afterwards. And everything's good. You'll see things in mind. Why are you doing that? You must be enjoying it because you're still doing it.
Yeah.
There is that even though it's a low.
Yeah.
It's better than other things.
Yeah. I love this class. here, I'm wearing my game. You know, getting to new trail, if you don't, then, no.
Yeah, that's. Sometimes I feel like I'm so fast, I can't see. Yeah. Things like that. My first year. Yeah.
You're trying to figure out.
It's different if you take a motor or something.
Yeah.
Work that out. It's a volume of something that's taken out of the pipe, and how do I know that I need what the motor
I'm sorry.
Gotta take your shoes off. That's fine, enjoy it.
I'm going back to North Dakota. It's a week and a half. I'm waiting on it. Looking forward. Did your miles relate to anyone else's? Any similarities to your miles? Did you guys talk about miles? Your things that you've done? What were there similarities in your group?
It's how hard.
As a mile. It's good to talk about your miles because you find, I was hoping someone would find some sort of relationship, like, yes, I related to their miles, but apparently you guys didn't, so. But it's good to find your people that are walking your miles. It doesn't mean they have to be in the same exact trail as you. But they're walking in a similar trail in the same fashion. And they too just want a little support. Prevent the burn. This is huge. This is huge. And this is, once again, this is where I started just thinking about me when I was making this presentation. I'm sorry, but I'm trying to prevent the burn right now. I am recognizing, thanks to my body battery on my watch, it is telling me that I am operating at roughly a 20% battery every day. And that battery comes from the stress that my watch is tracking, the amount of movement I'm doing to counteract that stress, and my sleep. So if you start waking up and that's your first thing you see, it's like, good morning. You have 24% body battery. It's like, yeah, I can do this.
It went up.
It went up. Yesterday it was at 6. My sleep was not regenerative. I did not go into REM. I woke up, it was a power nap, like I said. It's good to recognize your stress. You have to. You have to call yourself out on this because if you're stressed out all the time, your team's stressed out. That's not good leadership. Because honestly, on my honeymoon, going back to my honeymoon, I almost died, right? Elk, bears, the whole thing. We literally left early. It was the whole thing. It was the first time I've ever asked if our GPS has an SOS button. Push the button, Jordan. We're leaving, is what I kept saying. And that was hard. I recognized I was stressed out in that situation, and he just calmed me. He was like, we're not in trouble. We've got all the things we needed. I was drinking hot tea because our water filter also broke. Literally up here, it was like literally the worst. So hot, piping, boiling water went into my double wall insulated water bottle, and that was not refreshing. You need to set boundaries. This is super hard. I find myself doing this a lot more now. I'm trying to set boundaries. If I need to focus in on things, I leave my phone places. I'm really bad at tracking my phone right now. Because of that, I set a boundary. Now I'm like, oh, where's my phone? Set boundaries with yourself at home. I need to remind myself of this because I woke up at 4:45 after going to bed at like 1:45 so that I could write this. I have to set some boundaries. Maybe I should say no and quit volunteering for things like I'll be your cheerleader. No, that's maybe, I don't know. Develop a work-life balance. I'm also working really hard because I have a 9-year-old and a 3-year-old. And I have a friend that just lost his children because he's an empty nester. And I'm like ready to give my children to Craig. And Craig's over here like, I kind of want my back. It's hard. It's hard. So work-life balance is very important because you miss the miles you're in now. And that doesn't give you any insight when you're in these miles ahead of you, trying to learn from the miles you've walked. Prioritize self-care. You're walking those miles. I need to get back into yoga. I know exactly the day I quit doing yoga. It was last year in July going into August. I have practiced enough because my body is sore to stretch, but it is nowhere near the practice I used to do. Because I have to prioritize cleaning the dishes, all the things I need to get done at home before I go into work, because I come home from work and then I get a little work done after work, and then I have to do the dishes. I don't have a dishwasher. And the dishes and all the things, and it just keeps happening. And then all of a sudden, I'm sore and I'm not feeling as chipper. It sounds weird, but I'm not feeling as energetic as I used to. And that is because my self-care has started to fall off. I'm not taking care of myself. Maintain a support network. I have this in a couple of different capacities. I have a great support network in my office. I have great friends that help kind of lift me up and do the things. I have a great support network of people who do similar things to me that aren't in my office, because I do need that outlet too. I also have a support group who are a couple of district managers that listen to me complain a lot, and I thank them for that. Support groups are important, and they don't have to be the same ones. It's good to have those supports that insert for the shoe that you're in at that time, because your shoe's never the same. Exercise the body and mind. Envirothon was hard. That was hard. That was hard. But it exercised my brain and I appreciated it. It exercised my body because I smiled a lot. It gave me a lot of joy to be there and be working, but not.
For the kids.
It's for the youth. The youth. So, you know, as a closing here, I think this is my closing, yeah. As a closing here, I want you to just think of some ideas of coping with burnout. You guys just talked about some of the miles you've been walking. It's an idea for the burnout to help address those miles. Because I'm gonna tell you that mile's not over. It just kind of keeps going. It's like gym class and you're like, oh, I can't believe there's another one. And
boots.
this was Craig's. This was Craig's boot. Boot shoe, I don't know.
For
And-
the record, I do not own those.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Because you have
I
fun.
tried to get some someday.
You have fun with it. And honestly, and that was some of the questions that kept coming at me. It's like, does it have to be like a practical thing, or can I make a thing? And I was like, you just do you. And then you get 5 emails from Mike Tobin with 10 pictures of his shoes because he had so much fun doing it. He had so much fun doing it. So maybe that's how you help cope with stress in your office. Maybe just pose a stupid thing, like just maybe don't go down the shoe foot thing.
I called those photos as field check, so I actually got paid.
My hero.
You're standing in it right now.
So, I mean, just real quick, can you shout out some things? Because I mean, you talked a little. What are some things that you can already say, I can do this to help with my miles?
Reach out to others that are in similar situations.
Yeah,
Talk about it.
talk about it.
It's okay to say no.
Yes.
Absolutely, that's what I was thinking, so setting some boundaries and reaching out. Setting boundaries and reaching out.
I love all the district managers are getting these eyeballs, like, yes, it's you. You're the problem. Set the boundaries.
I don't want to be a negative Nelly, but I care about everybody in this room. They raise their hand talking about burnout. It is a real medical condition.
Mhm.
It's serious.
Mhm.
It shuts your body down.
Mhm.
If you suspect it, look beyond your network, get a professional. I'm serious. My wife has suffered from it twice because of her personality. Her personality is very close to all of our personalities and why we're in this crazy business of working for a district. So that would be my hope for everyone.
It's true. I did some research on burnout because of this. This was a yesterday idea to throw burnout in there because I was sensing it. It was something I was sensing that we all needed these reminders. And it's true. That's what they say. Know your stress levels. I check my body watch like this. I'm knowing, I'm sensing what's going on. I know I need to take a step and I need to do this, like I need to take a break. I'm going to North Dakota. Woo! I'm gonna be gone for 2 weeks. Gives me anxiety up the wazoo because there's so many things that can go on in literally 2 days, 2 weeks. What am I gonna do? I'm gonna hang out at my family farm. I'm gonna throw cow pies because it's my family reunion and that is something we do, a cow pie chucking contest. You better believe I've never won. I'm gonna just be present in that now because I don't go home to North Dakota very often. And I do not get together with 253 of my closest relatives very often either. Welcome to, we are prolific in North Dakota. What else do you do? Okay. What not to say? I said, what not to say? I'm just gonna enjoy the moment. I'm gonna put my phone away. Sure, I'll check in when I get over to Fargo, but at the point where I'm just going to do when I need to reset. Because it's important. Because I am important in the office, not in a like big-headed way. I drive a lot of things. I set the pace for how I hope staff's gonna start chattering, going after things. I exemplify what I hope to see and I lift up to get the people where they want to be. That is something I love to do. I'm steady. I'm steady now that I know that. It's important. It's important for us because it's important to say, you know, you're doing a really good job. You're really stressed. I can tell. That project is not as important right now. Just set it aside. It's not going to go anywhere. I have 3 years to get my ecology grants done. It's going to be fine. And it's okay to go back to people and say, you know what, this didn't work out in the way we intended. We're trying. We're going to hopefully figure out how to compromise and figure out and move forward. But it hasn't blown up in my face yet because I have said this a lot to FEMA. I don't know what to tell you. It's not working. And it's okay. It's okay. Because all we need to do, actually, we're gonna go back to this one. All I need to do is keep moving forward. Just keep putting that foot in front of the other one. Take that step. Celebrate it. Because remember back when babies happened, right? When they're little babies and they took that first step, there's a video of it, pictures, social media knows exactly what day it happened. It's important. And just because you're further down the trail now, wearing a little bit dirtier shoes, they're not as cute, you're still making important steps. So go forth, make those important steps, do the things to set it up for you, because these miles are long, and 365 days until the next wave is a long time. A lot happens there. So look around you, find the people to support you, build those networks, remind each other to set the boundaries. It's important. What we do is important. And it's not anything, we're not trying to just be there because we have to, or because we feel like others need this. We want to be here because I genuinely have a passion for conservation. I genuinely have a passion to work with people. I love getting to know the landscape and the people that are on there, and I want to solve the problems. That's why I do what I do. Because I'm a down-to-earth granola girl with flexibility and loyalty, and I'm ready for anything. So go forth and do the work.